I'm Quinn, and I browse a lot of trans subreddits because, obviously, and there's this phenomenon I've started to pick up on, and it's essentially when a trans person is just innocently asking, hey, why don't I pass? And they post a picture, and you could very obviously tell that very little effort has gone into passing. There is no right or wrong way to be trans. If you want to be trans and then you don't really care about looking like the goal, then that's perfectly fine. I am trans and I don't plan on voice training just because my voice doesn't give me dysphoria. But it's different if you want to pass, because if you want to pass, that's going to require effort. You have to take certain steps aside from just taking HRT. In fact, it's easy to transition without HRT. As trans people, there is this very understandable desire to be able to pass naked, to be able to pass wigging up. And there's several things we forget in thinking that, and in wanting that, and pursuing that. The first is that cisgender people sometimes don't feel masculine enough, or don't feel feminine enough. Even as trans people, it's okay for us to not feel feminine or masculine enough when we've just woken up. I don't feel fucking human when I first wake up. I want my breath to smell good without effort, but I still have to, that's not possible. I still have to brush my teeth twice a day. And that leads me to the second point, is that I think in our stubbornness to be as natural of a trans individual as possible, we kind of just neglect basic grooming. So let's start with that. And for the purposes of this video, I'll just mostly be discussing MTF transitions because it's what I'm better versed in, and it just helps simplify the language that I'm using in this video. The most minimal thing you can do that gives you the most drastic change, your eyebrows, baby. And listen, there's no right or wrong way to be feminine. There's no right or wrong way to be a woman. A woman can do whatever the fuck she wants with her body, and that can mean shaving herself bare every single day, and that can mean just letting it all grow out. And the beauty for cis women is that they have a leg up because they are benefiting from their natural born femininity. That's something that we as trans femme individuals are not lucky enough to have. So we do have to lean into certain stereotypes of femininity to be able to present more in a passing fashion. And once again, this is only if you want to pass. Thinner eyebrows or cleaned up eyebrows are typically a sign of womanhood. Bushier eyebrows, unkept eyebrows aren't necessarily masculine, but they definitely are more aggressive. Being able to whittle that down goes a long way. I myself can't get my eyebrows threaded just because I have an eyebrow piercing. So I pluck my eyebrows, and what I like to do is I lift up from the bottom and then cleaning up the tops, because you don't want to lower the height of your eyebrows, otherwise it'll look like you're kind of squinting and angry. You want to make them higher. You want to make them expressive. You also don't want to take off too much. I would recommend doing this in sessions just so you don't get lost in the minutia and the sauce of your own face and your own features. You want to be able to every 5 minutes or so take a step back, look at yourself in the big picture, maybe grab a snack, live, and then return to your reflection and see whether that looks right for you. If you have a female friend or loved one who's willing to who's supportive of your journey, I just ask them for help. Eyebrows, those are the moneymaker. For laser hair, if you are going to get laser hair removal, do not skimp. Do not assume that a cheap deal is the best deal. If the laser place that you're going to does not offer refunds, it's a bad sign. In addition, just as a side note, I think there is a phenomenon of if you are AMAB, sometimes, not all of the time, sometimes you just don't take as good of care of yourself as you think you are. You're going to need to start regularly doing more to take care of your hygiene or take care of your just presentation in general. I only mention this because sometimes on the subreddits, you get a girlie saying, hey, why don't I pass? And it's okay, there's issues with that, but also girlie, your hair is greasy. Girl, you haven't washed your face in days, and we can tell. I can see the reflection of your phone within the sheen of sweat upon your skin. Please do something. Yes, we're trans, we love Magic the Gathering. We don't need to smell like a Magic the Gathering player, yeah? Third is hair. And I think this is a very common mistake, and this is what I'm much more forgiving on, because I think lots of trans femmes think all I need to do is grow out the hair, and baby, that's not enough. Baby, you have to have layers. There's a difference between the way that masculine individuals grow out their hair and the way that feminine individuals grow out their hair. And sometimes, like, the tearing down of the walls combats the ability and ease of transitioning, because now it's more socially acceptable for men to have longer hair, which is good in terms of like gender dynamics, but it makes simply growing out hair, it doesn't make it the end all be all that it once might have been if you are trans femme. Because now that men are growing out their hair, there's a specific look that they sport. So you need to get more specific. Feminine haircuts typically have layers. Feminine haircuts might also sport bangs more often than masculine haircuts do. Even before I knew that I was trans femme, I was growing out my hair, but it looks much different than my hair does now. You want to start getting more expensive haircuts. You're going to stop going to like a barber shop, you're going to stop going to a Supercuts, and you're going to go to a salon, or you're going to go and find an independent freelance hairstylist. That's what I do. When I was transitioning, I was lucky enough to be dating a hairstylist, so she gave me like a very good blueprint for like the shag/wolf cut that I wanted. And I gravitated towards the shag just because it is like more masculine women, like non-binary forward. And that's kind of just what I'm aiming for. But what works for me might not work for you. But at the very least, you do need to get styled. I would recommend trying to find styles that work best for your face shape. Just because you get a haircut or dye your hair a certain color does not make you look like the individual whose hairstyle you're trying to copy. For example, I have a longer, more angular face, so I wouldn't be able to pull off something like a page cut or a bob or like a pixie cut, because those are more suitable for like shorter, rounder faces. But yeah, if you have shorter hair, it is simply enough to grow it out. But once you've grown it out, you must simply just get it styled. And you just have to bite the bullet and accept the fact that you will be getting what you're paying for if you pay $60, $70, $80. Fourth of all, paint those nails, or even better, get acrylics. Acrylics will be helpful because they will be longer, and as a result, you won't be able to use your hands in the same way. It'll force you to like interact with the world in a more feminine nature, just because you can't like yoink and like grab in the same way that you're used to. You'll have to be a little bit more delicate, and that will force you to kind of just default to feminine characteristics and mannerisms on your own. Fifth, makeup. Like, sure, it's not permanent, but I would rather take femininity like half of the time than none of the time. And a mistake I often see repeated, and kind of fell into myself, is that trans femmes often go all out first thing when we have no experience with makeup. We get like the blush and the concealer and the eyeliner and the eyeshadow and the lipstick, and sometimes we don't need it all. I purchased foundation and concealer for myself, despite the fact that like I have good skin, so I don't need to hide anything. So there's that. If you have good skin, if you have clear, presentable skin, you don't need to get concealer or foundation. Mostly because if you cake it on, it starts to dry and then you might just look worse. And some of the issues you might be trying to fix with concealer and foundation might just be fixable via washing your face more often or getting a better skincare routine. However, if you are only able to buy one makeup product, whether it's via financial restraints or just because you want to practice one makeup tool at a time, which I highly recommend, just get under eyeliner. I used to have a waterproof pen, now I just use like eyeshadow. Some days if I don't have time and I just want to feminize, I will only do the under eyeliner, and it's fucking miraculous. It changes so much. If you're seeking to only feminize and you just get one thing, it's that. Just something that you could swipe under your eyes. However, if you need to get something that's underrated, makeup remover is just something I never see mentioned in like makeup trans femmes should get. Like you also need a way to remove it, and also thus cotton rounds are effective. But makeup remover is also great because wearing makeup is not only about applying makeup, it's also about creating negative space. You don't always draw the perfect wing. Sometimes you have to shape. And shaping is just easier by like puffing a bunch of shit on your face and then removing the excess. Now, I personally only really wear 2 forms of makeup. Under eyeliner, obviously, and then blush. My blush isn't really blush. I just use pink eyeshadow. I like to place it here, like under the eyes and across the nose for like a more sunburnt look. Essentially, you don't want to like use makeup as a tool to transform yourself from like presenting male to presenting female. Just because like, yeah, sure, it's possible. People can do it. You probably can't because you've never held a makeup brush in your life before. And you, grown up, are trying to learn skills that women have known since like the age of 9, 10, 11. You kind of have to accept that you'll be behind the curve on this one. And when you're starting out, simpler is better, because trust me, baby, no trans femme within the first 6 months is as good at makeup as she thinks she is. Essentially, we're using makeup to highlight feminine aspects of our face that exist already. It's going to be very, very difficult, and you're going to become very defeated if you try to add stuff that doesn't exist, just because it requires a level of finesse with makeup that we just don't have yet, through no fault of our own. I've also stopped wearing mascara because my eyelashes kind of just go downwards and they're not really visible. However, if you have visible eyelashes, some mascara on there will make them pop. And if you want visible eyelashes, get some falsies. Having eyelashes that like fan up above your eyes really brings attention. Lastly, you want to get your mannerisms down. This one is very subtle, and it's going to take a long time to master, but it's very worth it. People will like choose to gender you on the silliest things. I once saw a post in the trans subreddit that was like, I'm trans femme, and I dapped up one of my students, and he said I dapped like a man. I'm a non-binary individual who's been mistaken for a woman before. On Mother's Day, someone wished me a happy Mother's Day. But on certain occasions, whenever I walk, from a distance where it should be more vague about what's going on, and when I'm still dressed feminine, men will like bro nod me. Men will say like, hey, what's up, man? Like, hey, what's up, dog? Hey, what's up, dude? I also sort of give myself away by doing the like bro nod just instinctively. But typically when I get mistaken for a man when I'm just walking, it's because I'm wearing my backpack. So as a result, I have to lift up my shoulders just for better spinal support. I'm standing like taller. I am walking with like more of an even gait. Whereas if I'm free of any like belongings, I am able to like focus more on swaying my hips. I'm able to focus more on like crossing my legs so that there's more of a like sway. And if I'm trying to walk more femininely, I don't put my shoulders up like this. I kind of just put my shoulders back. Sitting is also a big one. You want to avoid manspreading. It's difficult because there is like so much minutia, and if I give you too much of a breakdown of like, hey, this is what to do and hey, this is not what not to do, you might be so focused on like the correct way to act feminine that you just become very uncomfortable and feel like you're being watched. So basically just like study the way that men interact and study the way that women interact. And like there are subtle differences that people kind of just pick up on and like insert into the background radiation of their lives as a subconscious way of deciding whether someone is a man or a woman. It's unfortunate like that these exist, but if you want something that like tickles the subconscious and gets you gendered correctly, that's stuff that can work in your favor. But again, I'm giving you all of this advice not because there's a right way to be a woman, but just because if you are trying to pass, there are socially created ways to make that easier to have happen. But with that being said, those are very external, and like what matters about your ability to accept who you are comes from you. Transitioning is hard, but it's better to have it be hard than to not put in any effort at all and wonder why nothing is changing for you and having that be difficult. And yes, I totally understand. It's unfair that we have to work this hard. It does suck. This is the biological disadvantage that we should be complaining about. But it exists. And sure, like, as a person with depression, I have that thing of, oh, I wish I didn't have to, like, eat healthy and exercise and not doom scroll and, like, take care of myself and do, like, meditation to feel good. I wish I could just feel good. But working hard and putting in that effort in the end does make me feel good. Sure, like, it sucks that I have to do more, but I'd rather do more and feel better about myself than bemoan the fact that I have so much work to do, not do it, and then wonder why I feel like shit. If I can do it, you can do it. Because I am a mess. Or at least I'm a recovering mess. I think I'm doing pretty good now. Alright, I was Quinn. I hope you enjoyed. I think you're cool. Bye.